He's gutting the CDC, he's gutting the NIH, he's attacking scientists, he's attacking physicians. Ceasefire from the Israeli side means you seize, I fire. Someone has to take away that pen, that marker that he's using all day long to sign these ridiculous and illegal executive orders.
We are pleased to be joined by Karishma Manzur, a candidate for U.S. Senate in New Hampshire and a PhD medical scientist. Before we get into all the questions, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you so much, Brandon. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and the pleasure is all ours. So before I get into your platform, I did have two questions I was super excited to ask. First, kind of just as a medical scientist, what are your thoughts with the attack on healthcare and medicine in general that we're seeing from RFK, from Trump, from pulling millions off of Medicaid to saying Tylenol causes autism? And then also as a senator, what would you do to kind of fight back against that?
Very good question. Isn't it infuriating? My God. Yes, we all know these are all made up numbers. So as a scientist, it really is painful because the amount of integrity we have in science, the amount of years of training that we go through, and then how careful we are when we're collecting the data, when we're analyzing the data, when we're reporting the data. We're just so meticulous and so careful. And then for random connections to be made, which are extremely concerning by the president, by the sitting cabinet secretary, DHS secretary. It's just unacceptable. It's so, so wrong. So having said that, there is no link between Tylenol and autism. Please, folks, period. There is no link. A very a man of very questionable character is now in the White House. And the folks that he nominated for the cabinet's positions, they were either unqualified or they had serious conflicts of interest. He's gutting the CDC, he's gutting the NIH, he's attacking scientists, he's attacking physicians. It's really very difficult to watch. And at the moment, there's not much you can do other than, if I was a senator right now, I would ask for his resignation right away. Absolutely. And I would also talk about Donald Trump's lies about our health system, as well as RFK Jr.'s lies about science and data all the time, and make the public more aware of it, but absolutely ask for his resignation.
Another sentiment that we share is standing against genocide and what was happening in Gaza. I was happy to see that on your campaign website. And since Trump has announced his 20-point peace plan, there's reports of at least 9 Palestinians that have still been killed by Israel in Gaza. So myself, others obviously are worried, like, is this going to hold up? I'm curious, as a senator, what could you do with your platform? How would you use your voice to ensure that the bloodshed does come to an end?
I think the UN Special Rapporteur, Francesca Albanese, put it very well, or succinctly. She says, ceasefire from the Israeli side means you seize, I fire. It's such a terrible situation, right? It's such a volatile place. It's been 2 years of bloodshed. Even if we don't think about all the history of it, which I understand, I hope the viewers will excuse me, because yes, we should put everything into context, but even this current situation for the last 2 years have been horrific. And now we have this 20-point plan. There have been many plans in the past that have not, that looked very positive, very optimistic. Everyone was happy. Unfortunately, then it fell apart. So I'm cautiously optimistic that the ceasefire will hold. I'm cautiously optimistic that Gaza will be rebuilt. And I'm cautiously optimistic that Gaza will be rebuilt for the Palestinians and not for folks like Jared Kushner and Tony Blair, whose idea of that area is just, like we know, a Riviera, or somehow to turn it into a money-making project for themselves.
And the last kind of question I had just on sort of where we are as a country, we see obviously ICE and the National Guard has been
Mm,
walking the streets. We see the chaos in Chicago, seems to
hmm
be happening in blue states and blue cities.
hmm
As New Hampshire senator, what would you do to kind of combat that to ensure those in your state are protected from these kind of attacks?
The actions of Donald Trump, they would amount to treason, actually. Sending in the military, US military, against American citizens, and talking about war, that there's a war and that he, declaring war when there isn't. That kind of uh, rhetoric, as well as his actions, would amount to treason. So this is number one. This is the unfortunate part. The whole of Congress, it's their duty right now to actually proceed with impeachment, because that is the only way to stop him. And someone has to take away that pen, that marker that he's using all day long to sign these ridiculous and illegal executive orders and asking the military to take actions against its citizens. Can someone please stop letting him sign these executive orders? But seriously, though, it is horrific what is happening in many of our cities. As one single senator, again, you could submit articles of impeachment. You could rally up the force, but we know that the Republican senators, unfortunately, none of them are upholding their oath to the Constitution. Because if they were, we should not be in this mess where he is actually receiving a lot of support from his Republican base, from the Republican senators, as well as Republican House members. So, but again, you can help explain it across the country what is going on. Even one senator's voice can do that. But the best way to curb the situation and stop this is basically to actually impeach him.